Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of And Now You Know with Bette and Julz. I'm Bette.
And I'm Julz.
And today we're going to talk about something very interesting, and we absolutely want your feedback. We want to hear from women, and we want to hear from men.
Yep.
And this is an interesting question. Can men and women be friends?
Just friends.
Just friends. Not friends with benefits. Nope. None of that. Just friends.
I don't think they can.
I don't think they can. Okay, so let's talk about it. So I'm not sure where to begin, Julz. So where do you want to start?
Well, this came up because she had a situation come up with a fellow who had a situation that it's not changeable. And, you know, we've recorded an episode on accepting people where they are today.
Yep.
Don't expect them to change. And so this was a tricky, delicate situation, but it was big enough that she needed to step back, and he suggested that they be just friends.
So let me give a little context. I'll give a little backstory just to fill in a little bit. So I went on a date. This is somebody that I met on an app. We talked about dating apps already. So I went on a date, and then we went on another date.
Well, they went on an interview.
Went on an interview first, and then we went on a date.
And
then
the subject was discussed on the interview.
And the subject was this. Am I telling the story or are you?
I'm just correcting you as we go along.
So the point is, we went on multiple dates, and a situation came up that he brought up as a want. You know, we have our wants and needs. Mm-hmm. We have our non-negotiables. We always talk about deal breakers. We talked about, the list, whatever. So there was a specific area of his life that he felt that this was really important. And this is something that I know I can't change. And this is something that is an absolute thing for him, right? And so if that's the case, even though I felt like we got along really well, I felt like we had a lot in common, we were attracted to each other, I did feel like there could be really great potential with this person. But with that kind of big item sitting right in the middle between us, it was very, very clear, very apparent, very quickly that it's not going to work.
Well, it was something that could have come up down the road, and it could have been a big, huge topic for resentment down the road.
Well, and this is the stuff that we talk about. As Julz always says, you spend time with people to decide if you want to spend more time with people. And if you know what your list is, and you're clear about what works for you, what are your beliefs, what are your values, what is your vision for your life, if you are clear on all of those things, then when you have your interview date and when you have your conversations leading up to date 1, date 2, whatever, this is when you're supposed to be finding out about the person.
Right.
This is when you're supposed to be, like, it's not supposed to be rose-colored glasses. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be, if we see something, if something could happen between us, what might that look like? Just making sure that you are really compatible. Yeah. And liking someone and thinking that they're cute and, kind of having the butterflies and stuff, that is never enough. It is never enough for an actual long-term successful relationship. You have to be very honest, and you have to talk about your wants and your needs, your deal breakers, your list, whatever. Talk about that stuff in the beginning. And some people find that really intimidating, but I feel like this is why we have the issues that we have in dating today, or even in the breakdown of relationship, is because you didn't have the conversations that you needed to have in the beginning, because nobody wants to have an uncomfortable conversation. But I like to have uncomfortable conversations, so we had one. It was very clear I knew what I needed to do. And so I brought this up in conversation at our next date. And we were sitting in person. This is definitely a conversation not to have over text.
No.
Texting,
or even over the phone.
Texting.
Not even FaceTime.
No, I agree. This is an in-person. This is where maturity comes into play. Mm-hmm. You have to have a conversation in person when it is kind of this type of sensitive matter, right? When it has to do with your future and all your whatever. So we sit down and I said, hey, I think we need to, talk about this topic, this situation. So we talked about it, and it was very clear And it was actually a great, mature conversation where I said, I totally understand the position that you're coming from and how important that is for you. So really what that means for me is that this can't go any further from today.
Well, he needed to not have the distraction of Bette.
Yes.
To be able to continue to move forward with making a decision. And you can't have those big, I mean, starting dating someone new it takes a lot of time and investment because that relationship it's got to have time to root, and you just have to give it the time it needs. And if he's got this big huge decision looming over it
that has nothing to do with me,
that she can't do anything to help him with,
I can't be a factor. I can't help. And the other thing is, like what you mentioned before, is that I don't want to have anything to do with the decision where there's any pressure or ultimatum. I wasn't saying that you have an ultimatum and you have to make this decision. But what I'm saying is that I don't even want to be attached to it in any way, because that's when it has the potential of coming back and biting you in the ass.
Yeah.
Because then they could say, I made the decision because you made me feel that way.
Right.
Or I knew that wasn't going to work for you, so I did this instead. So I want no part of it. I want no part of it. So I said, okay, then it's not going to work. And so he suggested that we stay friends because we did get along and we did enjoy each other's company, and thought that each other
could
would
have
be
helped out professionally,
super
and,
fun or whatever. Yeah, maybe, but here's where the issue is, where I know I do not believe that men and women can be friends, and I want to hear y'all's perspective. For me, very quickly I realized, well, I'm going to go on and date other people. Now, if I then continue a relationship with this guy, which very clearly was not going to go on, here's where the slippery slope is. There was still attraction. And I think in the friendship maybe that he wanted to continue to have, it was not necessarily a friendship. There was still some flirtation. There was still, some text messages back and forth that really felt more like dating texts, right? As we're still getting to know each other and, that
being friends.
Right.
It was leaning heavily towards the friends with benefits zone.
That's what it was leaning towards. And the issue with that is that how can you then move on with your dating, date somebody else and have full, I want to be very respectful of who I'm dating. Yeah. And if you're getting to know people and you're dating multiple people, that's one thing, because, you can have multiple conversations. But if I decide to take something to the next step with someone, and now I still have this friend from my past who I dated, who we decided not to continue the dating relationship, but there's still this thing that's lingering. Mm-hmm. If we continue to be friends, I feel like that is disrespectful to the new relationship that I may potentially be going into. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like, is that giving that person, the friend, is that giving them, kind of a window where they feel like that they will always have an opportunity to re-enter? I don't feel like that is a clean break.
Well,
I don't feel like that sets either one of us up for success.
Well, and I don't know. It just felt like he was dropping some crumbs to maybe benefit from the relationship that would just be benefiting him, but she's not getting what she needs out of the relationship.
Which is what I exactly
because
said that.
She's not on dating apps or dating sites to find friends. They have those. I think Bumble has one. It's Find Your Next Best Friend. And I don't know any of the other ones that do that. But she's not on these apps looking for a friend. She's looking for her soulmate. She's looking for the guy that she's equally yoked to. And so if you have this interview date and you find out that you're not equally yoked to this guy, and maybe we need to explain what equally yoked means. It means that they have the same plans for their life that you do. They, for me, a really important, big, huge thing, a deal breaker would have been a guy who doesn't want to go to church, doesn't believe in Jesus. That is a huge deal for me. And so that was always a question in my interview. How would you feel about spending time with me daily in scripture and prayer time? And I don't want to just go to church. I want to be involved in my church. I want to build an extension of our family through our church community. I want to get back to friends. I mean, can you be friends? I guess I've got a little bit of a jealous bone in me.
Why? Let's hear
or
it.
Or maybe not, because I don't think Jay would like it if I had a guy
Gotcha.
that was my friend. I think it would be suspect. Now, there are some guys that Jay would be completely comfortable with, but they have to be playing for the other team. You know what I mean? And I love gay men. I really do. They are hilarious. I love them.
I didn't know you were going to say that.
Well, I mean, we're just being honest here.
Yeah.
But I love them. I respect them. I appreciate them. I do not think it's a choice. I think God makes people exactly the way that they are, and he does not make mistakes. And so I just have an appreciation for their authenticity. And I tell Jay all the time, I'll meet somebody and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just met my new gay husband, my new gay boyfriend. And he's cool with that.
Yeah.
But if some guy is, and I really think that you are playing with fire.
Totally.
Because there is just a sexual tension that God put between a man and a woman, and you need to respect yourself enough to not
and
be
your relationship.
right.
Your person.
Right. I mean, in my case, I've got Jay, so I just am not going to put myself in a situation that is ever going to make him doubt my behavior or my intentions. It's stupid.
It is. And by the way, story time. Let me share a little story.
We love stories.
Real life. This is an example of people that I absolutely know. That I used to work with them forever ago. So it was a husband and a wife. They all worked together, husband, wife, best friend, and then the best friend's spouse. They all worked together in the same place. Well,
this is scaring me, Bette.
There was a lot of hanging out happening. There was a lot of this. There was a lot of that. To the point where everybody felt so comfortable around each other that they would be like, playing around and, kind of the inappropriate jokes and the cheeky this and that. Like it starts like that.
It does.
It starts like that. And then those boundaries get super blurred.
It's a slow drip.
What ended up happening was that marriage fell apart.
Both of them?
Yes, because the best friend
I
ran
guess
off
so, yeah.
with
the other one,
with the other person's husband. They were best friends. They were best friends, and I mean, it started as a sneaky affair, but they literally ended up getting married.
Because you know what happens in those situations? If you are alone with someone of the opposite sex that is your friend, you end up, I just think it's the enemy's favorite thing to do to destroy a family or a marriage. You start talking to each other about the shortcomings of your marriage.
That is never okay.
He never tells me I'm pretty anymore. What? Are you kidding me? You're gorgeous. Why wouldn't he?
Yep.
If I had a woman like you, I would tell you every single day that you're the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen in my whole life. So you're getting your ego stroked by this person, and then all of a sudden, these feelings start happening, and then you dabble in it a little bit more, and then you dabble in it a little bit more. And I am saying this from a place of experience, because not that the person that I had a relationship with outside of my marriage was my best friend, but we were on a worship team together at a church a long, long time ago. Let me tell you, it's pure destruction. And you start letting those little things start seeping in, and then the next thing you know, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the other thing. The other thing, because absolutely that is what cracks the door open,
Yep.
and then it just continues. The other thing that I feel really uncomfortable about, that I think, I know a lot of couples actually that have this as a rule, that if you and your partner, you agree that if you're ever, alone, right, and you're off doing something, you're at work, you're at the gym, you're doing something, and a friend needs a ride or needs a favor or whatever that's of the opposite sex, you either bring your spouse or someone else to be there, because that is also a very tricky thing when, let's just say you're a man and you're giving a woman a ride to work, to church, to the grocery store, to the mall, whatever it is. When you're in the car, conversations spark.
They do.
And you're all alone and you're, however long the ride is for, a lot of things happen in cars. And sometimes they don't happen, but then you're accused of them happening.
Right, and there's no witness
And there's
there.
no witness, and there's
Your word
now
against
your
hers,
word,
his.
exactly, your word versus his word. There are so many things that can happen that can create so much chaos that are completely avoidable if you just think about what type of position you're putting yourself into, and also your family, and also your partner. Like, I think it's really important that you have really great self-awareness, and you make sure that you protect not only yourself, but you protect your family, you protect your spouse from going through any kind of situation that you could have controlled. You could have prevented that from happening.
Yep.
And, you can't say, oh, that was innocent. Yeah, there are a lot of things that were innocent that made headlines.
But you,
with a scandal.
You look there. There's a thing called guilty by association, guilty by behavior. I don't want to ever give anything an opportunity to put a crack in the foundation of my marriage. With Jay. There's nothing worth that to me. There's nobody, there's nothing. But I want to kind of go back to this situation with you, Betty, because I started getting a bad feeling about it because he did put her in a friend zone.
He did.
But then his behavior wasn't indicating that he wanted to keep her in the friend zone.
Right.
So then I continued to have conversations with Jay about it after talking to her. And Jay and I came to the conclusion that maybe this guy, it was a game. And he was throwing out he was casting a reel out. He was fishing to see who was going to take the bait.
So allegedly, we don't know. This is now
this
is now the story that we're crafting around it, because it just felt like, what are we doing here?
Right.
There was no clarity, and that's where I felt like there's either clarity or there's nothing.
But he would say things, text things, and I was so proud of you because you said,
I put an end to that.
Is this how you talk to your friends?
Is this how you talk to your friends?
What?
Yeah.
No. So just don't play with fire.
So again, this is a question for everybody else. And I absolutely think that in this example, that definitely was not going to work out as a friendship, because it was going to blur into so many other different things that it was not going to work for me. No. But let's think about, in everyday life, there are a lot of times where men groups and women, all that are married, right, couples groups, they all hang out together, and sometimes they do things together and things separately, and maybe sometimes there's some intermingling of, hey, the guys are going to go do this or whatever. When you're in that situation, I would love to hear from some of those men that are in couples groups and how they feel, what kind of positions they have or choose not to put themselves into, what seems appropriate or inappropriate when you're talking about another man's wife that's a friend of yours. Like, I think that is a slippery slope. I think that it's like taking precaution, putting very, very firm boundaries in place where you never have anybody question your intention, your morals, your values. I think all of that stuff is so, so important.
This made me think of a situation long time ago, but there was a person, I'm not going to say what relation I was to them or anything, but there were two couples. They were, obviously married to each other, but they hung out a lot together. Well, the women started, having girl time and all this stuff, and one of the wives started talking about sex and their sex lives. And the woman that was telling her story was bragging about how good her husband was in the sack. Well, the other woman wasn't getting that kind of time with her husband. So then she went, it planted a seed in her mind that she wanted a little nibble of that, And so she went to the man and...
She went to her friend's husband?
Yes, because she knew how good he was in bed because her best friend was talking about her husband, which seems completely innocent. But this is how it works. Your marriage, your intimate time, your secrets with your spouse belong to y'all.
Yep.
You don't go and, share those kind of intimate details with anyone because, I would have never thought that, but it was a little bit shocking.
Yeah.
But anyway, she was a temptress. She ended up getting the man to have an affair with him. It destroyed the marriage, obviously.
Oh, that's terrible.
And anyway, just guard your tongue. We've got an episode about guarding your tongue and loose lips sink ships and all that good stuff. I'm telling you, the enemy will find a way to needle in there and create as much chaos and destruction as he possibly can. So protect your marriage.
Yeah, I think
at all costs.
I think the only way it works is if it's you're all a group of singles. You're all a group of singles. Yeah. You hang out together. If you want a vacation together. Sometimes there's a group of all these single people and all they're doing is hooking up with each other. And
right.
Hey, if you sign up for that, that's fine. Whatever. No judgment. But I think it only works if you already kind of have those parameters in place.
Right.
If you are a married man or a married woman, I sure as hell, if I'm a wife and my husband comes home and tells me that he has a friend and they're going to go have lunch together or go out for drinks or go to dinner or go by her house to go do a favor, you can stay over there.
I'm going to say
because you're not doing that shit here.
I'm going to say, what time are we going?
Yeah. Either what time are we going or
why don't you stay? There's a song out there and it's called Why Don't You Stay? And it takes this really interesting twist. And the woman who's singing is talking about her husband, who is having an affair, and she finds out about it, and he pretends like he's got to go and do something, and she's singing, the wife is singing to him, and she's like, oh, why don't you stay and just go in the morning? But then she finds out where he's going, and so the end of the song is, why don't you stay? Meaning, stay over there. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's such a good song. I wish I would have written it.
And you know what? It's so funny. As she's telling that story, she just reminded me of another story. So another story time. Another example. I knew somebody who he and his wife were married for a very long time. Probably, 15, 20 years-ish, mm-hmm. something like that. Long time. And there was a new person that kind of came in, and it was a friend of a friend situation. So a friend of a friend brought so-and-so into the circle, new in town, that kind of thing. Well, that person was now kind of commingling in with all of the...
Was this person single?
So the person that came into the group was single, but everybody else, they were married couples. And what ended up happening was the person that I knew, who was the husband, used to work and travel a lot.
Oh, no.
And so this person who came into the group, who was a single man, was given a lot of trust within these circles. And so next thing you know, they have an affair.
Of course they do.
The marriage ends.
Started out as friends.
It started out as friends.
This is why you can't be friends with somebody the opposite
This
sex.
is exactly the point of what we're saying. I do not believe that it is possible unless you and your spouse are extremely committed and have boundaries in place where you say, we will do it together. We can be friends,
Right.
but I will always have my spouse
Yes.
with me whenever there's any interaction. And if
Right.
you don't feel comfortable putting those boundaries in place, then you shouldn't do
No.
it. Then you shouldn't do it.
But you can't be friends with someone of the opposite sex, even if you're single. Because
Well, yes. Well, and so this is the issue that I am saying. For somebody, maybe it depends on how it starts, because here's what I'm going to say. I do have friends, guys that I grew up with, that I went to high school with, that I've known for my whole life, and I'm friends with their wives.
Okay.
Now, I'm a single girl.
Yeah, well, you can be friends with their wives, but you can't be friends with the guys.
No. I'm friends with the guys because
Yes.
I went to school with the guys.
Right.
Now, for me, I see them as brothers.
Yeah.
I see them as my brothers. I've known them for 30, 40 years, right? So for me, I'm thinking back to an example of when would it be okay? When would it be okay? And I do have a couple examples where I feel like I know my intentions. I know that I would absolutely never, because I believe in marriage, and I have so much respect for not only for my friends and also for their wives and for their marriage, for their household, for their families, that I would never let anything like that,
Right.
happen. But not everybody has that intention. Not everybody is clear about, some people are jealous about what you have. Some people want to break up a happy home. This is where you have to be careful.
But I
because
don't know if
there's-
it's intentional. I think it's a
sometimes it
slow-
is, like your friend,
Well,
like the lady that you were just talking about.
I don't even know if that was it wasn't even a friend. This is a long time ago. It wasn't my friend. It was my mom's friend.
Oh, yeah, but see,
Anyway.
but it was there was a level of intentionality in that.
It wasn't my mom's friend that had an affair with my dad. That wasn't it. It was a story.
Yeah,
outside
no,
of
no,
that.
no.
I want to
wasn't-
clear that up.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking that it was your mom's,
No.
that it was
No.
something that broke up your
No.
parents. I wasn't thinking that. What I was saying was whoever that lady was, the intentionality in her mind where she felt like, I want him because now I know how
want him
good
to
he
do
is.
that to me.
Yes, I want him for me. She had zero care in the world for the wife, the family unit, the children. Because she wanted what she wanted.
Right.
Because that's something that, well, she couldn't have it, and so she did everything she needed to do to go get it.
She should have trained her husband to do that stuff.
She should have. And
Sorry. If she wanted it, she should have spoke up.
I know, right? She should have. But anyway, so I guess you really do have to be extremely careful. Now, for me, in my my current age, my current status, I'm not looking to collect any guy friends. I don't
No.
need guy friends. So I'm not looking for that.
I'm not
talking
even
about,
looking to collect any more girlfriends.
No, that's true. That's true. But I was actually, I met a couple new girls at a networking event, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And so I will, I think that'll be something fun. So I'm always up for getting to know new people, but we talked about 4 quarters and 8 minutes, and we also talked about inner circle friends.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a whole different level, but I think that in the long run, you have to be very, very careful who you trust around your spouse, regardless of whatever. You have to be very, very careful. You also have to be really careful. It's not even friends of the opposite sex. Sometimes it's friends of the same sex.
Well, that's what I was just talking about.
Yeah, and that's that example,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
Well,
you
and
have to be careful.
I had a guy that I worked with a long time ago. Again, this was decades ago, and he and I kind of became partners at work, and we would go do sales calls together, and I thought we were friends. I mean, he had a girlfriend, and I wasn't really dating anybody at the time, but I knew he had a girlfriend. And one night he was like, "Hey, she's going to be gone," and I said, "Well, let's get together. Let's go to dinner, and you can come over. Let's watch a movie, and we'll go swimming." And we did all that, but we got back in the house, and man, it turned, and it was clear that he wanted something besides. He wanted a friend with benefits outside of his relationship.
And that was not your intention.
No. And I had to say, there have just been times that have proven to me that there is a sexual tension there all the time. Don't be naive to it. Don't put yourself in the situation. We ended up salvaging it, but I have not been alone with him again. And he did go off and marry his girlfriend. I never told her about it. Maybe I should have, I don't know, but I'm not going to carry that burden at this point in my life. But I think that sex is different for men and women too. And men kind of need a place, but a woman needs a reason. And they're just going to try to get that from you, and then they're going to discard you because, again, you can't sit there and think you're special enough to change them from something that they've already told you what they want. So just get out of there.
And the reality is, any man that would do that is already supposed to be in a committed relationship, you can't trust them, right?
No.
So what makes you think that if you decide to go down that road with them and you decide to get into a relationship with them, what makes you think that you're special and that it won't just happen to you all over again?
It will.
Wendy Williams used to say all the time, how you get them is how you lose them.
Well, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And so I guess that y'all have probably figured out that our consensus is that men and women cannot be friends.
Yeah, I really don't think they can be friends. My very, very, very tiny, tiny little exception to that is, guys that I really feel like are my brothers that kind of I was raised with, and there has never been any inappropriate, because that's the other thing. If there has been, that's a blurry line. There has been, if there's, I find it, I do have an ex-husband who I co-parent with, and I think that's a little bit different because, we still communicate and we actually do get along well. But at the same time, there is absolutely zero,
well, there's no mystery there.
There's no mystery.
The problem with men and women being friends is that there's a mystery, and they want to experience that, and it does. It seems very
the dangerous thing,
smoky, and seductive, and sexy, and all that, but it's not.
No, and it makes a mess. It
does.
Destroys people's lives. And there's somebody on social media. He was an entrepreneur. He was talking about. I thought this was an awesome clip that he posted. He was talking about he will never do business with any man that would cheat on his wife, because he said if a man would cheat on his wife, he'll cheat on a business partner. He'll cheat on anybody that he's in the middle of a deal with, or whatever the case is. That is absolutely a character flaw.
It's called character and integrity.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
You can't be a cheater and pretend like you're great at everything else in your life and that you're trustworthy.
Yeah.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible. I think we've all learned.
I was just going to bring it up.
I'm not going to say their names because
it's got 50 million views globally.
At the time of this recording, over the last probably week or so, there has been a major scandal, and everybody knows I'm going to call it the Coldplay the Coldplay situation. That, first of all, that is such a travesty. It's
a tragedy.
It is absolutely horrific what happened, and now literally the entire world has made a mockery of it.
It's not bad what happened to the couple. I feel horrible for her husband, his wife, their family,
the other side, the children. Talk about that will never go away.
No,
I don't think that will never. How do you quiet that down?
Forever. It's like, oh my God, you were on the Jumbotron.
It is a worldwide spectacle.
Well,
huge embarrassment. And that guy, okay,
He's going to land on his feet.
He'll whatever.
She won't, but he will.
The HR lady, she probably, as it has happened to everybody else in the past, somehow she'll end up with the scarlet letter or whatever, and she will be affected much more negatively than he will. He'll be rewarded probably at some point for whatever.
It'll just get
his bad behavior. Yeah. It'll be
good old boys
quieted
club.
down
Sorry.
and whatever. But really, at the end of the day, there is nothing good that will ever come from that. Nothing.
No.
And so this is about protecting yourself, protecting your family, protecting your reputation, protecting your character and integrity. And this is not just with friends. This is also with coworkers.
Yeah, and I can tell you, without even knowing anything about those two people, it started at work. They started talking about inappropriate things. Those conversations got bigger. Then all of a sudden, they had a little kiss between them, and then they're on the Jumbotron at Coldplay concert.
And the whole world is talking about them. And
The last time I saw it-
and allegedly, because I'm not sure, allegedly, I think they both got fired.
Oh, yeah, I think so. And then the poor girl who's standing there laughing was the HR.
Well, there's a little discrepancy on that. Some people are saying that that's not her, but
Okay.
But yeah, they did a side by side, and it looked similar to her, but it didn't look like her, and so we're not sure.
She looked like she knew all about it to me, but that's just my opinion and my what opinion people say about opinions.
Yeah.
Do you know what they say about
No,
opinions?
what do they say about him?
I can't remember. It's kind of like everybody's got one. It's like an asshole. Everybody's got one.
Oh my God, Julz, that was ridiculous.
That's what it is. Everybody's got one.
Everybody's got one.
Like
yeah,
everybody got an asshole.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. So this is what happens. See, this is what's so fun because these are our conversations all the time, and we just bust out laughing just for whatever. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway,
our timer went off, so we're actually done with this. But here's the bottom line. I don't think you can be friends with a man, or a man can be friends with a woman, because there's going to be that sexual tension. There's always going to be an undercurrent. It's totally disrespectful if you're in a relationship or a marriage or you've got a family. Do not play with that fire.
Do not play with that fire.
Don't.
If you value your relationship and you want to protect your family, you will do whatever it takes to never even have the slightest anything, any whisper, anything that will ever come your way if you absolutely want to keep it together and never have that, have that be on a Jumbotron.
Make your person that you're dating and building, hopefully, towards commitment, or your spouse, your best friend.
Yep.
That's the only opposite sex person that you can be best friends with. So,
yep. Okay.
There you
go.
go.
So thank you everybody for joining us on another episode. And if you would, in the comment section, we always say, give us feedback. Let us know if there are other topics that you want us to talk about, if you have any questions for us. And then also tell us what you think about today's topic.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think
that
people can be friends of the opposite sex?
Yeah.
You might.
You may have the perfect situation where you are best friends with someone of the opposite sex. Yep. Maybe you can tell us we're wrong.
Yep. And maybe that's the case. But you know what? I just thought about one more thing before I sign off for today. Another example is Shania Twain. Because Shania Twain was married to I think it was her manager.
Yeah.
And I am going to say this from my memory. I hope I remember it accurately. She was married for a very long time.
Had a baby.
Yep, had a baby. And then she found out that her husband was having an affair with her best friend. Mm-hmm. And then her husband's best friend, I think he's the one that caught them and went and told her. Well, then what ended up happening was that they got divorced, of course.
Yep.
They went their separate ways. But then she ended up marrying her best friend's husband. I think they're still married today.
I think they are
so
too.
That's actually a really interesting, kind of turn of events of how that happened.
Can you imagine the pain involved in all of that?
Oh my gosh. Devastating. Yep.
And who would lose Shania Twain?
I know.
Good Lord.
What an idiot.
She's so beautiful and gosh.
It's true. But anyway, so thank you for joining us today. If you do want to shoot us an email that we respond to them, they come to us only directly, and we will respond to them. hello@bettyandjulz.com, BETTE.
And I'm JULZ.
And thank you so much for joining us again, and we will catch you on the next one.
Subscribe.
Subscribe.
Bye.